live from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening and welcome to the National News broadcast, bringing to you live from the National News Studios here at the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. We're ready to bring you the top stories here at home and around the world. I am Shantita Minipurarachi, together with Sharon Asprenius.
Acting Minister of Defence says certain groups are striving to destabilise the peaceful environment and to create chaos in the country. The Health Division says pregnant mothers are able to receive quality 3-portion food without any fear. Wild elephant threats on several villages in Mayangana and Minipe. A social security pension scheme for expatriate workers. Health aid amounting to 1.25 billion rupees to Sri Lanka from China. Giorgia Meloni wins the Italian general election. A significant reduction in the value of the British pound in comparison to the US dollar.
On to those and other stories in detail now, and starting off with the top local story. The acting Minister of Defence says certain groups are still striving to destabilize the peaceful environment and to create chaos in the country. And the peaceful economic environment and economic stability, he has made these remarks at a media briefing at the Department of Government Information today to explain on the current security solution in the country. Acting Minister of Defence Pramita Bandarathenakon said that the government accepts the right of the people to engage in agitations. The government also respects the freedom of the people. The acting minister added that, however, that any agitation process or protest must not obstruct the normal life of the general public or to the economy. He has also said, according to the law of the country, the groups which hope to engage in agitations or conducting processions must receive a prior approval from the security divisions several hours before conducting such an agitation event. The acting minister further said that, however, the present-day protests are not taking place respecting to this law. Acting Minister Pramita Bandarathenakon also said problems would not have arisen if the agitations informed to the police at least 6 hours before the commencement of agitations. He also said that they have witnessed how protests had developed to the state of even riding parliament. There is also a possibility of invading the judicial system of the country. The acting minister also said that an environment which could be infuriated by the general public does not exist today. All activities are being conducted as usual. He further said that the farmers are now able to purchase necessary fertilizer and insecticides without a shortage. A tendency for the tourists to return to Sri Lanka has been increased. The country is moving towards providing permanent solutions to liberate the general from the economic difficulties. He has also pointed out that the situation prevailing today is not the same that existed several months ago. However, certain trade unions and political groups are engaging in attempts to create anarchy. The protests do not come from villages or farmlands but from locations close to Colombo. The government is not able to allow the country falling into a chaotic situation. He also said that the security, political stability and supremacy of the law are basic characteristics of any country to achieve economic stability. The acting minister added that therefore the government would control any attempts by agitating groups to fulfill their objectives through conflicts. A clarification has also been made on this occasion regarding naming high security zones in the Colombo city. Acting Minister of Defence Pramita Bandarathenakon said that the President has created security zones to consolidate national defence as expected from any responsible government. These zones are not a novel feature for the country. The acting minister also said the naming of high security zones as high-sensitive zones is taking place in every country of the world. People are free to engage in their activities in these zones as before. The acting minister in conclusion said that the President upon return to the island would re-evaluate the situation and take a decision on high security zones.
ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා අධි ආරක්ෂිත කලාප ඇති කළේ ජනතාව වගකිව යුතු රජයකින් අපේක්ෂා කරන ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව තහවුරු කිරීමටයි. අධි ආරක්ෂිත කලාප මේ රටට අලුත් දෙයක් නොවේ. ඒ වගේම ලෝකෙට අලුත් දෙයක්ුත් නෙවෙයි. අධි සංවේදී කලාප අධි ආරක්ෂිත කලාප ලෙස නම් කිරීම ලෝකේ හැම රටකම සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ දැඩි ආරක්ෂිත කලාප ලෙස නම් කරපු ස්ථානවල සුපුරුදු පරිදි ඕනෑම කෙනෙක්ට කටයුතු කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේකේ ගැටලුව ඇති වෙන්නේ අනීතික ක්‍රියා කරන්නන්ට පමණයි. ඒක නිසා කවුරුත් ඒ ගැන කලබල විය යුතු නැහැ. නමුත් රටේ ඇති වෙලා තියෙන තත්ත්වය අනුව ජනාධිපතිතුමා පෙරලා රටට පැමිණි පසු මේ තත්ත්වය නැවත සමාලෝචනය කරලා එම අධි ආරක්ෂිත කලාප නම් කරලා තියෙන එක ඒ විදිහටම තියනවාද එහෙම නැත්නම් වෙනසක් කරනවාද කියලා එතුමා තීන්දුවක් ගන්නවා ඇති.
A fundamental rights petition has been submitted to the Supreme Court today requesting to annul the Gazette notification issued by the President naming several locations in the city of Colombo as high security zones. It was presented by an activist of the Socialist Youth League.
As President Ranil Wickremesinghe is engaged in an official tour in Japan and in the Philippines, several state ministers have been entrusted with the responsibilities in the ministers that come under the purview of the President. Accordingly, State Minister of Defence Pramita Bandara Tennakone has been appointed as the Acting Minister of Defence. State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe has been appointed as the Acting Minister of Finance, Economic Stabilisation and the National Policies. The Acting Minister of Investment Promotion is the State Minister of Investment Promotion Dilum Amnugama. State Minister Kanaka Herath is the Acting Minister of Technology. State Minister Anupa Pasquale has been appointed as the Acting Minister of Women's and Children's Affairs and Social Empowerment.
Minister Kanchana Vijayasekara says legal action will be taken regarding a statement made by the chairman of the Public Utilities Commission. A Twitter message issued by the minister points out that the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation will take legal action over statement of the chairman, which stated that Sri Lanka imported low-quality crude oil. The message further says a request has been made by the Ceylon Electricity Board for a continuous power cut due to a breakdown at the Lakshapana hydropower station and also due to the lack of funds to import diesel and furnace oil. The Twitter message has also stated that furnace oil and diesel are being used at the minimum level in order to minimize expenditure involved with the generation of electricity by the Ceylon Electricity Board. The minister's message also said that accordingly the CPC will provide the necessary furnace and oil and diesel according to the needs of the CEB. A letter submitted to the Public Utilities Commission by the CEB Power Generation at the Lakshapana Hydro Power Station been destabilized since the 18th of this month. The water level at the Samana Lavav Reservoir has decreased to 30%. Therefore, power generation would remain at a low level until commencement of monsoon rains. Diesel stocks at the Kalanithissa power station have been fully depleted. The existing coal stocks would be sufficient until the end of next month. Uncertainty prevails over the receipt of next consignment of coal. The message further says that according to the information provided by the Department of Meteorology, a reduction in normal rainfall is predicted in the next 3 months. Therefore, reservoirs of the hydroelectricity power stations may not receive adequate quantities of water and problems pertaining to procurement of fuel would persist. The minister's tweet message recalls on the several rounds of talks conducted between the official of the Public Utilities Commission and the Ceylon Electricity Board on the 9th of August as well as on the 6th of this month. The meetings have focused attention to further expand the duration of power cuts.
Family Health Bureau on Maternal and Child Health says that expecting mothers can now receive quality 3-posha food without any fear. Specialist physician and director of the Family Health Bureau on Maternal and Child Health, Dr. Mrs. Chitramali De Silva, said that pregnant mothers should not have any fears regarding the quality of food they are receiving. She added that measures are underway to locally produce 3-posha food for children as well. The relevant companies are subjecting to close scrutiny of all raw materials used in the production. The World Food Programme has extended aid for the provision of meals made out of maize.
The pound has fallen to a record low against the dollar as markets react to the UK's biggest tax cuts in 50 years. Meanwhile, UK Chancellor Kawasaki Kwarteng has promised more tax cuts on top of a 45 billion sterling pounds package, and he announced on last Friday amidst expectations borrowing will surge. In early Asia trade, sterling fell crossed the 1.03 US dollar before regaining some ground to stand at about 1.07 US dollars. This morning, the cost of UK government borrowing also continue to climb today. If the pound stays at this low level against the US dollar, imports of commodities priced in dollars, including oil and gas, will be more costly according to foreign reports. Other imported goods also expected to become considerably more expensive, further pushing up inflation, which is already at its highest rate for decades. Concerns have been raised over government's plans to cut taxes and borrow billions will stoke high inflation and force the Bank of England to raise interest rates even further. While worries of the UK economy has hit the pound, its value has also been used in the pressure due to the strengthening of the dollar. Other currencies have been falling against the dollar, and the euro touched a fresh 20-year low against the US currency amidst concerns about the risk of recession. Last week, the bank raised interest rates a half percentage point to 2.25% in an effort to claim inflation, which is at a 40-year high of 9.9%. The rate increases was the 7th in a row and took rates to the highest of the 14 years.
The Supreme Court has decided to exempt President Ranil Wickremesinghe from all cases pertaining to the Easter Sunday bomb attack. The reason being the President having immunity according to Clause 35(1) of the Constitution. The verdict has been delivered by a 7-member panel of Supreme Court judges comprising of the Chief Justice Jayantha Jayasuriya, Bhuvaneke Aluvihare, LTB Deideniya, Murthu Fernando, Esture Raja, AHMD Nawaz and Shiran Gunaratna. Further hearings of the petition filed against several respondents including President Ranil Wickremesinghe has been postponed till the 29th of this month. The examination of the complaint filed against 4 suspects including Danis Ali over inappropriate entry and obstructing transmission of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation has been postponed till the 9th of January next year.
Commemoration of 2 former Prime Ministers S.W. Bandaranaike and Ms. Siramavu Bandaranaike falls today. Many ceremonies organized in this connection have been conducted throughout the island today. S.W. Bandaranaike, who came to power in the year 1956, is considered as a leader who has committed to usher a new era in the country. Some of the progressive acts taken place during the regime of the former Prime Minister included declaring of Sinhala language as the official language, creation of the Employees Provident Fund and acquisition of the army camps in Trincomalee and Katunayake by the government. Other formidable tasks carried out during his tenure in office were passing of the Paddy Land Act, transforming of Vidyodaya and Vidyalankara Pirivenas into universities, declaration of May Day as a holiday and the nationalizing of buses and the harbour. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party under the leadership of Prime Minister Bandaranaike had introduced a non-aligned foreign policy. S.W. Bandaranaike was assassinated by a gunman wearing robes on the 26th of September 1959. Upon his demise, Ms. Siramavu Bandaranaike has assumed leadership of the party and became the world's first woman Prime Minister on the 21st of July 1960. The most crucial developments that had taken place during the period of office of Ms. Bandaranaike included the taking over by the government of schools that they operated through funds, inaugurating of the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation and the Bank of Ceylon. The regime of the Prime Minister has also looked at the foundation of a self-sufficient economy. Ms. Siramavu Bandaranaike had returned to power in 1970 and dedicated her efforts to implement a self-sufficient economy setup. During her regime, nearly 100 government institutions had been established with the objective of strengthening local economy. The main objective of the government had been to manufacture locally all essential commodity items. Other notable achievements during her term of office include the acquisition of Kachati Islands to the country and provision of a permanent solution to the problem in their plantation harbour. The former Prime Minister, employing her diplomatic status, has paved the way for setting up a vibrant agro-based economy. Yet people of the country had rejected the closed economic setup in the year 1977 and handed over an absolute defeat to the SLFP headed by the former Prime Minister. Ms. Siramavu Bandaranaike had strived during her period in office to maintain the dollar value on the single digit and to create a strained economic system. Economic analysts are of the view that the country was confronted with numerous economic crises as a result of certain leaders who came to power after her abandoning the far-sighted conservative measures. The main ceremony to remember Prime Minister S.W. Bandaranaike and Ms. Siramavu Bandaranaike has taken place at the Bandaranaike Samadhi in Horagolla today. Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumarthunga has presided over the event. Many people's representatives, including Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, has attended the ceremony and participated in paying floral tributes. Commemoration of former Minister late Anura Bandaranaike has also taken place in parallel to this event. Garland of statues of former Prime Minister S.W. Bandaranaike on his 63rd commemoration of former Prime Minister Siramavu Bandaranaike on her 23rd commemoration has also taken place at the Bandaranaike International Conference Hall premises today. The event was attended by former President Maithripala Sirisena and representatives of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party as well as staff of the BMICH. State Minister Chamara Sampath Dasanaike has participated in a floral tribute ceremony in front of the Bandaranaike statue in Badulla today.
Minister Mahinda Amaravira and the State Minister Jagat Pushpakumara have expressed opinions over plans to expel from the Sri Lanka Freedom Party of the MPs who receive ministerial portfolios. When the Minister Mahinda Amaravira was questioned by a media person regarding accusations of the party General Secretary over some members joining the government, the minister replied that this was an impertinent query. The minister said that this General Secretary himself had joined several parties and destroyed them.
And the special Navaratri fast of Hindu devotees has commenced today. It will be conducted for 9 days. The fast comes to an end with the offerings of merit to the deities. The special pujas are being conducted in hovels, houses and schools during the 9-day of fasting period.
The 27th United Nations Conference on Climate Change set to commence from November 6th in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. Sri Lanka's commitment to combating adverse impacts of climate change issues and resolutions pertaining to Sri Lanka at the summit and future benefits were discussed during a meeting held at the Ministry of Environment today. Minister Nasir Ahmed, Secretary to the Ministry of Environment, Dr. Anil Jayasinghe, UK High Commissioner Sarah Holton, Egypt Ambassador Maj Mosley and UNICEF representative to Sri Lanka Christian Scooge were present at the discussion. The summit has identified a range of topics focused on enhancing implementation and raising ambition on broad range of issues related to climate change. This year marks the 30th anniversary of the global adoption of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change.
COP27 is going to be held in Egypt in November. The participation from Sri Lanka has to be more active from every stakeholders, not only on an official level, also from public and the private sector. So I appeal to all the private sector and particularly the youth and the activists. Actively get involved in this event. Please come forward and let us join hand to achieve, not only participate, to achieve the results, which is very vital right now. Of course, the Sri Lanka is going through a very sort of bad economic crisis. We need to come out of it.
I'd just like to reiterate that we are working, we'll continue to work in support of Sri Lanka, as we do across the world, to combat the problems that are associated with climate change, to try to prevent disasters, to reduce the impact of them. I think there is no other issue that the Secretary General Guterres is more involved in and more engaged in than climate change and the impact it has on the world and our future. We're here to support, to ensure there is progress, to document the progress that has been made in Sri Lanka, and to accompany the country as it moves forward, overcoming these challenges, and very happy to be here.
When we talk about summit in climate change, we need to say that one of those 6 roundtables is about food security. And who does not talk about food security in Sri Lanka now? It is not about something that businessmen do alone. It's about farmers, it's about individuals, actually each and every individual. This is how important this summit is. So for Egypt, we will cooperate, we are cooperating with the UN, with the current president, the UK, for a preparation for Sri Lankan participation, an adequate and useful participation, and then implementation. So those are the 3 phases where we're in there with Sri Lanka. There is already an immense work done up till now, but we will work together against the clock. We have like 6 weeks left. So through the 2 or 3 committees that His Excellency the Honorable Minister has decided to establish, we will be working together. Media is important. This is through you that people in the villages, people in the mountains, people on the beach actually also will be aware of this. They do have a role to play. Youth, gender, grassroots, businessmen, small and medium-sized enterprises, and so forth.
So we're very keen to see strong participation across the different sectors, across those important roundtables to look at the next steps. So we'll be telling that story of COP26 and the achievements there, where the world really came together. And I think we also want in that to take stock of where we are now, set the agenda and the ambition level for COP26, and see how we can help inspire people here to meet those targets. To that end, I think it's worth me mentioning that the UK, we have just looked at our NDC, and in the light of the Glasgow Climate Pact Agreement, have come out with some new targets there, and we'll be talking more about that ahead of the 6th to the 18th of November and COP27. So keeping that 1.5 alive, and I think just to underline that although we will be passing the baton of the presidency over to Egypt and very much looking forward to the discussions at Sharm el-Sheikh, the UK will remain a strong partner for Sri Lanka and for the new presidency, and all those doing all the work to help Sri Lanka achieve these goals.
For countries like Sri Lanka, and for that matter for any country and globally, this is very important that there are three aspects mainly to mitigate as far as possible the global warming, the climate change, and then of course if you take Sri Lanka, our emissions are very minimal. Basically big industrial countries emit much more emissions, but still Sri Lanka as a country has pledged the UN on mitigation as well as, and our plea basically the countries like Sri Lanka, our appeal for UN and UNFCCC basically has been on the lines of adaptation.
Our correspondent says that people in the Mahayangane and Minipe Divisional Secretariat Division are being immensely tormented by the wildlife threats, which are increasing day by day. Many villages around the Mahavali River are being threatened. Paddy harvesting in the Binipe farmer settlement is presently taking place. Affected farmers say their complaints to the Elephant Control Operations Centre in Girandurukote have not been heeded. The reason being the restriction of fuel quotas to the officials, and currently the wildlife conservation officials receiving only 120 litres of fuel instead of the regular capacity of 400 litres. Residents of Minipe and Mahayangane request the authorities to chase away the storming elephants and to safeguard their lives and properties. An elephant was reported to have been fallen into a well of 45 feet deep in a house of Palvehera, Tambola. The wildlife officials say that they are engaging in efforts to rescue the animal, which fell into the well at dawn today. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena has presided over the 50th commemoration ceremony of the Siyan in the Bauddha Centre in Madiwala today. In the meeting, he has been organized under the patronage of Sri Chandrajyoti Vihare, affiliated to the Sri Jnanananda Buddhist Center, Venerable Nikapotha Chandrajyoti Thera, the Mahasangha comprising of Venerable Kithalagama Hemasara Thera, and public representatives including parliamentarian Yadamini Gunawardena have also attended the event. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena said that when a country official declares of an economic crisis which is that have never faced before, we must realize the extent of harmful repercussions of such a development. The Prime Minister further said that the unity of all citizens would enable the country to come out of the crisis. He added that we have passed similar situations in history. We could rebuild the nation through the accumulation of strength. The Prime Minister further said that Sri Lanka also confronting a power crisis. He further said that we must explore the opportunities of arriving at a reasonable solution.
The Manusavi Social Security Retirement Scheme for overseas workers has commenced today. Minister Manusha Nanayakara said that a safety network will be devised for the security of all Sri Lankan foreign employees. The aim of the project is to strengthen the retirement life of the foreign workers. The ceremony in this connection was conducted at the auditorium of the Sri Lanka Foreign Services Bureau. State Ministers Jagat Pushpakumara and Anupa Pasquale have also graced the occasion.
The government of China has donated to Sri Lanka today 8 mobile laboratory buses fully equipped with facilities to identify kidney patients beforehand. The value of the contribution is 600 million rupees. Chinese Ambassador Qiu Shanghong has handed over the vehicles to Minister Keheli Rambukwella at the Colombo National Hospital premises today. The facility is enabled to conduct tests on 500 persons daily. China has also donated medicines valued at 650 million rupees to the minister.
I think that Sri Lanka is going through the worst ever economic crisis or the downturn in the history of Sri Lanka. And this is the time we see friends indeed, that friends in need, right? So basically you have been a friend in need, and you have been always, and your people, your government have been always concerned about the activities of Sri Lanka, and you have never hesitated to assist us whenever it is necessary. And I don't think there is more opportune in time than this to have this donation. Today we have, I think, received the first batch of almost 5 billion worth of medicines. We have received the first 650. We're getting in batches. And we are once again thankful to you and your government and its people.
The health sector in Sri Lanka has endured tremendous pressure in the past few years. The widespread pandemic and then the following economic crisis pose unprecedented challenges for Sri Lanka health care system. In this regard, I would like to sincerely applaud my Sri Lanka colleagues for your dedication and sacrifice. Another consignment of medicine donation and China's 500 million RMB emergency humanitarian assistance just arrived in Colombo 2 days ago. I sincerely hope that those efforts can help the frontline health workers save lives across the country, and will also support the resilient Sri Lanka people overcome the crisis and recover an early date.
Seeking of Hindu and Islamic religious blessings on account of the 73rd anniversary of the Sri Lanka Army has taken place today. Islamic religious observances have been performed at the Juma Masjid Mosque in Kollapitia under the patronage of Army Commander Lieutenant General Bikum Lianage. All units of flags of all regiments of the Sri Lanka Army were blessed on this occasion. Stay tuned for international news after this break.
Welcome back to the news, and we take a look at foreign news now. The far-right party leader Giorgia Meloni has claimed victory in Italy's elections after exit polls gave her coalition a clear majority and on course to create the country's most right-wing government since the end of the Second World War. With full results due today, the Brothers of Italy leader is expected to become the country's first female prime minister and a model for nationalist parties across Europe as she heads one of the EU's 6 original member states. The results showed the centre-right coalition netting some 44% of the parliamentary vote, with Meloni's brothers of Italy taking about 26%. Her coalition partners divided up the remainder, with the anti-immigrant League of Matteo Salvini winning nearly 9% and more moderate Forza Italia of ex-Prime Minister Silvio taking around 8%. Turnout fell to a record low of 63.91%, 9 points down on 2018. Voting levels were especially poor in southern regions, including Sicily. Italy is a founding father of the European Union and a member of NATO, and Meloni's rhetoric on the EU places her close to Hungary's nationalist leader Viktor Orban. Her allies have both had close ties with Russia. Meloni wants to revisit Italian reforms agreed with the EU in return for almost 200 billion euros in post-COVID recovery grants and loans, arguing that the energy crisis has changed the situation. Italy is already the second most indebted country in the Eurozone.
Welcome back with your sports update. And the Defence Services team has been successful in securing the 59th Senior National Hockey Championship trophy by beating the Commercial Services team held at the finals of the Sri Lanka Hockey Association Artificial Hockey Stadium in Colombo.
The best player of the tournament was RMA Suresh of the Defence Services team. South Asian Junior Badminton Tournament is scheduled to commence in Assam, India today. 4 male and 4 female competitors from Sri Lanka also took part in the tournament, which ends next Friday. St. Sebastian's College Moratuwa has become the champions of the Super A Group All Ceylon Schools Badminton Tournament by beating Ananda College, Colombo. Champions of the A Group Women's Tournament was Musaeus College, Colombo.
And with that, we conclude tonight's news. Do just tomorrow at the very same time. I'm Charita signing off with Sharon. Stay safe. Good night.